We're holding the second pasuk. Sheshes yom ti'osim alocho. Ubeyom ashiyi elochem kodesh. The seventh day should be kodesh, should be holy. Shabbos Shabbos Hashem. Kol osim alocho yumos. And because it's Shabbos Shabbos Hashem, whoever does malocho is deserving of the death penalty. Now it's interesting. I just want to clarify something. Why? Because Alan always quotes this, and the person he quotes it from, because the person is such a great Talmud Chacham, therefore it's not correct. Shabbos Shabbos has nothing to do with we have on Yom Tiv, Meleches Ochel Nefesh is permitted, Meleches Avod is not permitted. Food-related activity is permitted. Something which is not food-related is not permitted. Shabbos and Yom Kippur, not only is non-food-related activity not permitted, even food-related activity is not permitted. Okay? Even though Shabbos you're permitted to eat. Right? So what's Shabbos Shabbos? Firstly, what you have to refrain from something which is not food-related. The second Shabbos says, even something that it's food-related. You understand? Has nothing to do with whether you're permitted to eat, not permitted to eat. Shabbos Shabbos means whether it's Meleches Ochel Nefesh, not Ochel Nefesh, each one comes to address another level of creative activity. Okay? So because it's a Shabbos and Yom Tiv, Yom Kippur you're not permitted to eat, but it's a Shabbos Shabbos. But the way Chazal cited, it's not because you're not permitted to eat. The refrain is from Meleches Ochel Nefesh because it's similar to Shabbos. Because it's Kodesh, therefore it's Shabbos Shabbos. Because it's a level of Kodesh, therefore even something which is food-related you're not permitted to engage in. Okay? That's the correct understanding. You should not kindle fire in all your communities on Shabbos. Now the question is, which do it's a machlokes tanoim, why does the Torah single out fire, kindling? Now, the halacha is regarding Shabbos, we have lamates malachos. What about a person, he does the malacha, but rather than being constructive, it's destructive by a violation of Shabbos. He did the same malacha. That's called mekalkel. So you would think, if that is the case, a person goes and kindles, what is kindling? Even though, in terms of the objective, it's constructive, but in terms of what you're doing, it's destructive. So, therefore, maybe that is a reason to say that you should not be chayiv. It should not be as severe as the other creative activities. And that's one opinion in the Gemara, one Tana, that the reason why the Torah singles out Havara, to tell me that it's a laviotos. All the other malachos you do it carries the death penalty if you violate them, if you're forewarned. Therefore you have to bring a chatos, inadvertent, but kindling, because since in its nature it's destructive, and the objective is only constructive, therefore that minimizes the melacha, therefore the liability is only a lav and not the death penalty. Therefore if you inadvertently kindle on Shabbos, there's no liability of a chatos. You don't have to bring a chatos. Right? That's the machlokas. One opinion, the way we rule is what? That the reason why the Torah singles it out, to tell me, because you would think, if a person, let's say, eats chaylev, which normally has the liability of koris, and you eat it inadvertently, you have to bring chatos. Right? Anything which carries liability of koris, if you violate it, inadvertently you have to bring chatos. What about a person eats multiple kizesim of chaylev? How many chatos do you have to bring? One. You only have to bring one chatos. Okay? So you would think, how does the Torah express the lo sasev of doing melacha on Shabbos? One lav, lo sasko melacha. So even though you have 39 creative activities, but let's say on one Shabbos, you believe it's Sunday, and you violate every one of the lamates melachos. Seemingly, since it's only one lav, you should only bring one chatos. Similar to doing the same melacha multiple times. That the Torah goes and singles out, tells me it's l'chalik yotzos. To tell me that just as the Torah single out, you see it as an individual melacha, although it's included within lo sasko melacha, identically every one of the categories within the lamates melachos, although it's under one heading of one lav, you see each one as an individual lav. So therefore, what's the level of liability? 39 chatos person violates every one of the creative activities on Shabbos, inadvertently, you have to bring 39 chatos for that reason. Although it's expressed as one lav. That's why the Torah is going to single out lo svar reish b'chol moshe sechem. It's explicit. It's explicit because it says moado. I mean, how do you know? The Torah says you should bring the korban b'moado. Moado in its time. So the Gemara says, what's moado? Whether it's Shabbos, whether it's Yom Kippur, it doesn't make it moado. It has to be brought like the korban Pesach. In a private korban, it doesn't supersede the Shabbos. But let's say Pesach falls out on Shabbos. You bring the korban Pesach on Shabbos. Why? Because Torah says moado. Anything which has to be brought in its time, it has to be brought on its day. So if the 14th of Nisan falls out on Shabbos, Erev Pesach or Shabbos, you bring the korban Pesach on Shabbos for the same reason. The Gemara tells us, "Lofsara eish b'chol moshe v'seichem." Where are you not permitted to kindle fire in your communities? And what do you mean? The Gemara asks. I mean, we're not talking about it's mitzvah tluis b'oretz, like the laws which pertain to agriculture. That's limited to Eretz Yisrael. But kindling, that has nothing to do with the land, right? That's what you're permitted to do. It's individual, so wherever you are. So what does it say in your communities? Moshe Seichem. So Moshe says to exclude the Beis HaMoked. The Kohanim and the Beis HaMikdash, they would walk barefoot. So what would be if the floor would be cold? So they were permitted to light the fire. They would make a bonfire, and burning in one location, it would actually, the warmth would spread along all the stones. So the Kohanim should be tolerable, this even on Shabbos. In your communities, you're not permitted to kindle fire, but the sanctuary is not your community. There you're permitted to kindle fire. Okay? Even though there it's not the avoda. That's to make it tolerable for the Kohanim to be able to deal with the cold of the stones. Okay. So if you take a look in the Sifona over here, even though when you burn something, it's destructive in what you're burning. But since that's the facilitator for every melacha, let's say you're a metal worker, a goldsmith, a silversmith, you have to melt it. So since it's considered the facilitator for every melacha, he asur b'Shabbos. That's what Torah is saying. You would think it's destructive, and therefore it should be permitted. But since it's a facilitator for all the melachos, because without heat, you're not able to do many melachos. Therefore, although in its own right it's destructive, you see it as being constructive. And that's the way we rule. We rule, even though it's the reason why the Torah singles it out to tell us that you look at every one of the categories as a melacha, as a set, individual lav. Let's see the Maral. It's not. The Gemara says it's not. That's the argument. No, it's an argument. It's an argument in the Gemara. Do we say that's the exception to the rule? That even though it's destructive, Yechayev? Or do we say no? Because as a Jew, you're a perfected person. Makam b'patish. It's an argument whether you see it as makam b'patish. So you can't draw that from Mila. That even though it's destructive, netilas neshama, right? Because you're letting blood. Right? It's not Machlok Reb Shimon Reb Yehuda in the Gemara in Shabbos.
That may be
No. What does that do with it? What about it? Why? What does that do? Okay. Medrash says differently. That you have to meet the ambassador or the minister before you meet the king. Okay. Shabbos, we have to work it out because the parshas we have to finish it by Simchas Torah.
Mathematically.
No. We have to finish.
Going